picture was called Beatles #1 because we didn't have a title, and I was getting these phone calls from United Artists in New York, publicity people said, what are we going to call this film? We're putting out the advertising. I said, I don't know, we'll come up with something. And I was bugging them all, and the director and the writer, and saying, come on, you guys, come up with a title. And we couldn't come up with anything. John and I were just chatting. He asked me if I ever heard Ringo misuse the English language, and I said, well, give me an example. He said, well, if we were working it hard at a recording session all night, the next day he would say something like, boy, that was a hard day's night. And when you think about it, it's a very interesting statement. And I said, John, that's a good title for our movie. And he said, I think so. So we went over and asked the director how he felt and the other Beatles, and they all said, fine, great, great. I think they just wanted to be relieved not to have to think of anything anymore. And I telephoned New York, the publicity people at United Artists, and I said, here's your title, A Hard Day's Night. And they said, what? And I said, don't give me an answer. Ask the secretaries, call me tomorrow. And the next day they called me and said, everybody loved the title. So now we had a title. And then it dawned on me, we didn't have a title song. And we had recorded everything. And you know, in filmmaking, you pre-record the songs and then you photograph the singers singing to their own tracks. So I said to John one night, John, I think we're going to have a song called A Hard Day's Night. He said, what are you talking about? I said, what kind of a producer would I be to have a movie called A Hard Day's Night with the Beatles and not have a Beatles song called A Hard Day's Night? Please, you'll have to write a song. The next morning, he and Paul called me into their dressing room, we were still shooting, and played and sang to me the song A Hard Day's Night. Now, think about this.